All right. So you mentioned if they would have just came out with an M1 processor, the M1 regular,
Hmm.
and gave you a larger screen in a 14 and 16 inch, you would have purchased that one. But you're
Hmm.
pleasantly surprised that they have an M1 Pro and an M1 Max. And even luckier for you, you don't have to make that choice because they have announced two new larger screen MacBook Pros, either of which the 14 inch or the 16 inch will give you the choice to have the M1 Pro or the M1 Max. So let me go some of these specs for the 14 and the 16 inch. Everybody liked the fact that they brought all of the quote unquote pro ports back. So in addition to three USB-C or Thunderbolt 4, I think is the Apple version, you get an HDMI port. So now you can plug, um, 4K, 8K monitors,
Hmm.
one, two, maybe even three to this HDMI port. You also get an SD card slot. I think it's the XSDX. I guess that's the Pro SD card for your photographers, for your videographers. And the reason why this is beneficial because they don't have to worry about fumbling around carrying extra cables to plug their camera into their Mac. They can just pop the SD card out like they can do on all the other PCs and do the same thing with the MacBook Pro. It also has MagSafe. They brought back the MagSafe charging port. So, like the current Macs that we have, you have to use a USB-C slot to actually power the Mac, in addition to data, in addition to connectivity. So now you have a separate port for just power. Or if you want to, you can use your USB-C ports to transfer power, but they've all separated, they split everything out. Before you had to use USB-C for everything. Now you have dedicated power, you have dedicated connectivity, and you have dedicated ports for SD and HDMI. In addition to that, like I mentioned, on the larger screens, you get a 120 hertz liquid retina XDR ProRes display. Again, that was just a lot of words for you get high resolution, 120 hertz screen refresh rate. So your screen is going to be a lot smoother, a lot faster. What most people do as pros, I keep using that air quote pros because that's what these are for. But what most people do is they'll buy all of these high end displays because the display on the laptop really doesn't do what they need it to do. So they'll get all these expensive displays. Well, this display in the 14-inch and the 16-inch will handle all of your high end graphics without having to use an external display. So the 14-inch, it has a 324 by 1964 native resolution at 254 pixels per square inch. Same thing with the 16-inch. It has a 3456 by 2234 native resolution at 254 pixels per square inch. Both of these Macs have a 1080p front facing, call it the FaceTime camera, but it has the notch that if you're familiar with the iPhones, the iPhone 10 and up, they all have the notch at the top that houses the sensors for Face ID. It also houses the camera for the front facing cameras. A lot of people had some issues with the notch. They were willing to accept the notch if it had the Face ID, but it just has the FaceTime camera. So people are saying, well, if it doesn't have the Face ID, then why even use the notch? A lot of people were upset about that. I don't think them same people are not going to buy it. They just wanted
Right.
something to complain about, but they're still going to go ahead and buy it. Me personally, I think Apple did it on purpose to add or continue the aesthetic
Yeah.
from the iPhones to the Mac. I won't be surprised if they add the notch to future iPad Pros, but that's a conversation for later. But you heard it here first.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they continue that notch look on the iPads as well, because it looks like to me that is the aesthetic that Apple is pushing towards all of their devices. So,
And who know?
lastly,
And
go
honestly,
ahead.
who knows? Who knows? The technology may be in this camera to for Face ID to work. They could push the code for Face ID to work down the line.
Right.
You have to make judgment calls when you're delivering software, and you have to say, do I want to push this back so I can put this feature in, or do I want to do it in a later release? So it could very well still be coming. So people just need to chill out and wait. You might be getting it sooner than later, or it could be coming down the line. You may not get it initially. So just kind of chill for a second. You might get it.
Right, right. And the notch, what it does is it gives you around the notch, it gives you more screen real estate. So the screen can get a little bit closer to the edge without doing that pinhole thing that you see
Mm,
on the Samsung devices and the Google Pixels, to where you just got that little hole in the middle of
hmm.
your screen. This gives you a little bit more screen real estate. And like you said, the sensors may already be there. Apple just hasn't turned them on yet. So
Right.
we'll see. But even if they ever
If
do,
they don't,
I mean, who cares? Most of the apps, most of the services will take advantage or account for the notch, and you may never even see it. Especially like if you use dark mode,
mm,
it'll completely get rid of that notch, so you won't even see it. So, but I digress.
yeah.
The other thing that I personally was upset about is the fact that my coveted touch bar is gone. They have replaced it with traditional function keys, volume keys, and they, continued with the touch ID sensor at the top. So I was pretty bummed about that, but I was in the minority, so I'm okay with it. I guess I'll figure out another way to do my volume and my scrubbing and all the different cool things that I used to do with the touch bar. But I guess majority rules. A lot of people complained about it for years and years and years and years. Instead of learning how to adapt and use something new, people just complained, and Apple was like, all
Yeah.
right, fine, we'll take it away. So much to my discontent,
Chagrin.
yeah, chagrin, there's no touch bar. But again, that may be a win for most of y'all. So I'll just keep it moving. Finally, the 14-inch with the basic run of the mill, not run of the mill, let me not say that, with the baseline features will run you $19.99. The 16-inch will run you $2,500, and they are available for pre-order now. You may not get a ship date for next week or anytime soon, but don't let that stop you from trying to order one, because again, with the shipping shortages, the supply chain issues, and the chip shortages, who knows? So if you're
They may
interested in
have a
getting
limited
one,
supply, so
you or
get
you
in where you
might
fit
be
in.
able right, or you might be able to walk in a store and scoop one up starting next week. So if you're interested in getting one, definitely do that. I probably already know the answer, but did you pick one, and which one did you pick?
So I got the 16-inch M1 Pro.
Okay.
So I have a ship date of the 26th. So I will be incessantly stalking the Apple Store app to track it once it finally gets on its way.
All right. All right. So what storage did you get?
The 1 terabyte.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we pretty much got the same one. Because like I said, it's comparable to the one I have now. Like I said, my 2016 is a 15-inch with a terabyte hard drive, but it has a quad core i7. Again, I've
Mhm.
been complaining about it forever because the fan is super duper loud. But I'm hoping with this M1 Pro
We won't have to
processor,
worry about
I won't have
fans.
to worry about the fan anymore. That would be a nice change. I don't know. Can you hear it now? Hold on. Let me see if I can put my mic up to it now. See if you can hear the
Oh yeah, I can hear it.
right. So I'll put my mic up to the space where the fan is, so you can hear that. I've been dealing with that ever since this podcast. So hopefully next week I'll have everything set up to where I'll be able to actually enjoy my podcast without thinking in the back of my
Right.
mind, can they hear that?